So, my San Pedro experience was pretty special, this one. So I had just finished my ayahuasca experience in the Amazon, and then I flew to Cuzco to continue my journey. Yeah, I remember getting told by my retreat facilitator, Deb, that San Pedro really brings things in full circle and helps further process ayahuasca, which would make sense since ayahuasca is like a female spirit, a mother figure, and San Pedro is a male spirit, like a grandfather figure. So, and because it's a male spirit, San Pedro gives you more direct answers. So it's kind of like a grandfather putting his arms around your shoulders and kind of telling you the beauty of life. So it gives you more direction. I first heard about San Pedro through Aubrey Marcus when I stumbled upon it in one of the Joe Rogan podcasts. And just the way he explained it in his experiences just really turned me on to the idea of doing San Pedro. Because listen, I've done ayahuasca and it helped me heaps, really helped deal with a lot of my issues and demons. But I still lacked a bit of direction, and I just wanted to further process what Mother Ayahuasca had gone through with me. Now before I go on, I do realize how crazy and far-fetched this all sounds, but I'm just basing it through my experience. Alright, so I've learned to stop giving a shit about what others think, because it will just make you a miserable person. So I advise you guys to just stop giving a fuck and putting all your energy into what other people think of you. I don't know where I heard this quote before, but what you think of me is none of my business. And that kind of makes a lot of sense. So San Pedro is an ancient sacred cactus that has been used in tradition for over 3,000 years now. It is a great healer teacher plant, and it really helps you to change your current negative thought patterns into positive ones. It cures mental illness with a pretty high success rate, actually. And the thing is with mental illnesses like depression, it's actually caused by a shitty perspective on life. So depression has actually nothing to do with your life situation. I mean, why do you think you see, homeless kids in India who have nothing yet are so much happier generally than, a spoiled rich teenager who has everything you could ever want? So as you can see, your life situation has actually nothing to do with your happiness. So San Pedro really helps change your perspective, and that's how it cures these things. And also things like physical diseases as well. Well, because every illness is actually stemmed from the mind. So I went with my friend Annie, who I met at the retreat, and she had no idea what San Pedro was, but she decided to tag along anyway, especially because we had the same flight to Cusco. So anyway, we flew to Cusco from Iquitos, and we went to Casa de la Gringa, and it's usually facilitated by a woman called Leslie, but she was at Australia at the time, so her son Simon took over. We met at the hostel and took a drive to her mountain home. So we went to her house, which is absolutely beautiful. She had these two gardens that were separated, that replicated the Garden of Eden or something. So as soon as I stepped into this garden, I'm like, yeah, we chose the right place for sure. So we went to the Maloka. It was 7 of us. And then Simon pours us each a tall glass of San Pedro cactus juice. So he just explains briefly just what San Pedro is about. He also said those who have experienced ayahuasca will find this to be a complete cakewalk. And that goes for the taste as well. Because San Pedro is not the best tasting, but compared to ayahuasca, this thing is like fruit juice. So we all had a glass, all put our attention to it, drank it. Then we all took a mattress and then placed ourselves somewhere outside. Yeah, so I'm just laying there on my mattress, just staring at the clouds. About, half an hour passes, and I started getting slight visuals, those traces that you see in your eyeballs? Kind of like that, but just a lot more intense. Then I started getting a bit nauseous, and I thought I was going to throw up, so I went to the bathroom, but nothing would come out. But then when I went back, that's when I really started to feel a difference. I was barefoot at the time because I got told by one of my friends in the retreat that if you are going to do San Pedro, take off your shoes. You'll thank me later. And so I did. And just when you felt the grass with your bare feet, it was weird. You felt like this electric energy from the earth just go up through your entire body. It was unbelievable. And so I went back to my mattress, I laid down. So I was looking at the clouds, and I was just looking at them just transforming. And one of the clouds transformed into sort of like a grandfather figure. So it was like, you know those Easter Island stones? Sort of, kind of like that, but more humanistic properties kind of thing. And it was like giving me sort of like a thumbs up. And I knew I was in good hands at that moment. So like the sun was just burning the shit out of me, so I went back into the Maloka, which was empty, and I just started lying down and going into a complete trance. And I was just staring at the roof. And because the Maloka was held up by like these logs, and I was seeing like the atomic energy flowing through these logs. And I had this heart-shaped crystal, this green crystal that was in the Maloka, and I was just holding it. And I saw the green energy field surrounding it. So when I would move it, this energy field would follow it. And I remember thinking that I heard someone say that San Pedro makes you see what's already there by just changing your frequency. And this kind of makes sense if you think about just the universe being made up of 95% of dark matter, which is basically invisible particles we can't see. And also all the, how many dimensions and parallel universes, and like there's so much we can't see. Just think that all there is to life is what we humans perceive through our 5 senses is pretty silly, in my opinion. Visually, the trippiest thing that sticks out in my mind of this experience was, well, because in the Maloka there are 4 windows, and so I was looking at the window and I was seeing this cloud, and I shit you not, it transformed into this vivid pink Chinese dragon, like with the claw and everything. And like it was so crystal clear, like I didn't even have to concentrate or make myself go into this trance. So apart from all these visions, I actually felt the true oneness of the universe. And I was feeling such bliss that even when I tried to think of a negative thought, I would immediately see the positive spin on it. I remember feeling my family's presence there, actually. It just really made me appreciate them. And what was cool, this is when the direction started coming in. Like, it sounds weird, but I was having like those epic motivational speeches in my head, like with the music and everything, but with my voice, like telling me what I need to do and stuff. So I got a huge confirmation stamp that the psychology degree that I'm doing is definitely the right thing to do, and that I need to start making blogs and vlogs and just start expressing myself and putting myself out there. And one of the lessons that I learned is that I needed to start taking things one step at a time, because in the past I've been guilty of every time I want to achieve something, I just try and skip to the end result or try and do too many things at once, which just burns me out, and then I just end up not doing anything at all. So yeah, I got to take one step at a time. I felt a lot of like kindred spirits around me, giving me support and feeding me good vibes. I was in a really deep meditative state, receiving great wisdom. San Pedro showed me the beauty of life, and that even the negatives can be a positive thing. All you got to do is change the perspective. For example, I can dwell on all the years I've wasted and damaged my body, or I can use that and turn it into a positive by using it as a motivational drive to move me forward in life. And you can do this with anything, any negative thing you can think of. If you can change your perspective on it, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. There is no such thing as a bad experience if we learn from it. San Pedro also told me that I need to stop looking into all the negatives in the world, because in the past I used to really focus on all the bad and like get into things like conspiracy theory and just how shit the world is and all these evil things that are happening behind the scenes. And all that does is actually feed that more fear and doesn't actually help anyone. So even you preaching to other people about all these things doesn't really do much at all. I mean, do you want to be that guy? You know, one of those guys who just preach about all this shit in the world, and you don't want to listen to that shit. So the best direction to take is actually just change yourself, and your world around you will naturally change. So sometime later, some lady walked in with like a fruit salad, and I was like a little kid. Like, it was like I've never eaten fruit before. And that was like the first thing I've eaten all day, because like before a San Pedro ceremony, you're not supposed to eat anything. And I was just so ecstatic, like I almost cried of joy. So I went outside, mingled with the group. We were just all sharing laughs and talking about life, and then we all went back into Maloka. We were all simultaneously feeling this oneness of the universe. And the thing about this oneness, it might sound really like hippie or new age or whatever, but look at it on a scientific level. Like if you take a microscope and look at the human body, you will see that we are made up of 50 trillion cells. And if you look closely at one of those cells, you'll see that that is made up of 20 trillion atoms. And if you look closely at one of these atoms, you'll see that it will start to fade away. And all you will see is pure vibrational energy. What's cool about this energy is actually it's old as the universe as well. And the thing is, every single thing in our universe, which even includes our thoughts and emotions, is pure energy. So we actually really are all the same. And like you can read about this thing, but actually experiencing it is something else. So like, you know, we were the grass, the mountains, the clouds, and each other. And we felt such empathy. So it wasn't just an empathy of like, oh, I can kind of imagine what it's like to be in your shoes. No, like you knew what it was like to be in that person's shoes. And if someone was to tell me this a couple of years ago, I would have just labelled them a crazy hippie, to be honest. But the reason why it's so hard for most of us to wrap our heads around this concept is mainly because we've just been taught our whole lives that we're separate from everyone else. So Simon came and he told us that we're soon going to leave for the walk in the mountains. We're going to go to the Temple of the Moon. And I was in a very deja vu state, but a weird deja vu. But so instead of I know that I've experienced this before, it was I know that I've dreamt this before. I don't know, it was really weird. Just the whole vibe of San Pedro actually was sort of like a lucid dream. I remember my hearing being like of a supersonic level. So I would hear very crisp and clear, like the buzzing of a fly, the wind, the flapping of birds. I just dealt with a lot of stuff that day actually. So I learned a lot about life and how just to be more in tune with myself and to stop worrying about all this bullshit that I've always let bother me my whole life. So maybe half an hour passed, Simon came to get us for the walk, and so we go to the door and he goes, alright, this transition is going to be very strange. You are now going from Alice in Wonderland to Lord of the Rings. Then he opens the door, the sunlight hits you, and you just see this vast openness mountain range, and it was incredible. It left me in literal awe of how unbelievable this sight I was seeing.
Wow.
And it really did look like we were thrown in a Lord of the Rings movie. Yeah, so we went for a walk, checked out a few sites, and there was one particular one. So it was like a big rock, which actually spiraled up. So it was a natural formation of stairs, and there was an energy vortex at the top. And this is where apparently the Incas used to come and meditate and receive all the great wisdom and knowledge of the universe. And below this stairwell was a hollowed out cave. And so I went in this cave and it was incredible, man. I heard like voices and I felt the presence of ancient spirits. Like it's hard to describe, but I just felt a lot of ancient energy. Like even when you touched the wall of the cave, you felt this electric buzz travel through your body. Yeah, so I go out of the cave and I climb up this rock, and the view, man, holy shit, it was unbelievable. Like the mountains, and there was like clouds brewing, and there was actually a couple thunder strikes as well. Yeah, it was pretty epic. So I went to the Temple of the Moon, checked that out for a bit, and then we went back to the mountain home. And I know, chilled there for a couple more hours, and then yeah, went back to our hotel. So like overall, the effects lasted for about, I don't know, 10 hours. Could be more for some people. I've heard it can last for 14 hours plus for some people. So I guess it depends how much you drink and all that. So San Pedro was unlike anything I've ever tried before. It was, like I said before, it was sort of like a dream, like a lucid dream. So I was getting access to my whole subconscious and the universe and getting deep within my psyche. So I learnt a lot about myself, life, the universe, and the most important thing, which is why I did it in the first place, was more direction. So from that, I have a lot more motivation in everyday life now. I'm so much more productive. Um, my optimism is at an all-time high. So even when I do start to think of a negative thought, since I'm conscious of it now, I can kind of just look at it instead of being the emotion, if you know what I mean. I appreciate life a lot more, and especially nature. So I find myself going out of my way now to go to like nature walks and hikes and all that kind of stuff. I have a lot more compassion for people now. So when someone's being a dickhead towards me, instead of getting upset and worked up over it like I used to, I kind of just step in their shoes. This is for the most part. I am still human, so there's obviously going to be some people or things that piss me off, but that is decreasing as time goes on because I'm working on that right now. So yeah, overall it's just really helped put meaning and purpose into my life. The direction it gave me just with like writing blogs and making videos and stuff, that's already starting to pay off. Even the first blog I wrote about my ayahuasca experience got quite an amazing reaction. Like I wasn't expecting that. Like heaps of people like related to it, and there's actually a fair few people who are now inspired to do it. And I actually do see the change already around me, and things are working out pretty good just because of my positive mindset. Like I got a new job, I've started a new course, I've started exercising, eating healthy, like all these things, and I haven't once even craved to like go out and get drunk or smoke weed or anything like that. That's something I've struggled with before, like pretty much my whole life. Alright, so should you do San Pedro? Listen, you don't need any psychedelics like this. You can actually reach these states completely sober through either many years of meditation. You can do a flotation tank, you can meditate in a dark cave. Like there's actually many methods you can do. Psychedelics is nothing but a tool. It's a tool that just helps you on the right path. So if you find yourself in these negative thought patterns, and if you've got depression or anxiety, San Pedro will really help you change your perspective on life. And this is how it cures these mental illnesses. And when you change your negative mind state into a positive one, you're going to start attracting a lot more positive things in life. This is the law of attraction. And listen, if you're skeptical about this, good, you should be. It sounds fucking crazy, doesn't it? And unless you do it, you're going to realize it's not. But when you look at it from an outside perspective, yeah, I don't blame you. It sounds fucking bonkers. Sounds like this hippie bullshit crap. So yeah, don't worry if you're skeptical about it, because it's completely normal. Just do your research and decide for yourself, and don't let your ego dictate your decision. So if you think this is not for you, make sure that's coming from your gut instincts and not your head, alright? Because this is where the ego comes from, and this is what puts us in problems to begin with, because the ego loves conflict and loves to be miserable and hates change, and will do everything in its power to not be found out. That's why it hates things like the thought of psychedelics like San Pedro or Ayahuasca, because these things completely dissolve this ego and will reveal a lot about yourself. But what's cool about San Pedro is completely non-addictive. You potentially might only have to take it once. Depends with each person. I think age is a factor as well. So if you're a 50-year-old who's had a history of many decades of drug abuse, and yeah, you're probably going to have to take it more than once, aren't you? But for a lot of people, you only have to take it once, maybe twice. Like, listen, I've done it once, and it's completely just changed my perspective. But this is also tied in with ayahuasca. So I don't think I would have gotten an amazing experience as I had if I didn't do ayahuasca first and dealt with all the shit in my system. So I will do it again. Actually planning on going next year. I'm going to go back to Peru, I'm going to do another ayahuasca session and a San Pedro one again. And I'm thinking about documenting it or something, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, cheers for those who have watched this far. If you want to know more detail, I've written a blog that actually goes a lot more in depth than what I've talked about today. So I've put in the link below. Yeah, I've also put a link on my ayahuasca vlog if you guys want to check that out. Yeah, I guess I'll see you guys next time. So yeah, I'm going to keep making videos and writing blogs. And it's not necessarily always going to be about psychedelics, but just anything in the topics of like health, psychology, spirituality, and just general well-being. So if you're interested in these kind of topics, I don't know, hit the subscribe button or just have a look over this page. Alright. See you next time.